Hello my dear students, this is Dr. 𝗵𝗺𝗵𝗺, your biochemistry faculty. Well, in this video we are going to discuss about vitamin B1. So first of all, vitamin B1 belongs to the category of water-soluble vitamins. So what are water-soluble vitamins? What is the significance of B1? What is the active form of B1? Because B1 is a very important vitamin. And I have already told you in my previous videos on vitamins that normally all the B complex vitamins, whatever comes under the category of B complex, they are used as coenzymes. Coenzymes mean they are required with the enzymes. So first of all, water soluble vitamins. So they comprises of vitamin B complex and vitamin C. Now this B complex is actually classified into three main categories. Now what are these three main categories? One category includes energy releasing vitamins. Second category includes hematopoietic, and third category will include others. Now if we talk about energy releasing, will include B1 whose active form is TPP, thiamine pyrophosphate, B2 whose active form is FAD and FMN or riboflavin, vitamin B3 whose active form is NAD or NADH, right, which is niacin, and B5 which is pantothenic acid or active form is SH-CoA, and B7 which is biotin. Then if we talk about hematopoietic vitamins, they are two, B9 which is folic acid and B12 which is cobalamin. And others will include B6 which is pyridoxal phosphate or pyridoxine, right? So this is how we categorize the B complex vitamins, and vitamin C is there, which we call as ascorbic acid. So let's start up with the first category of B complex vitamins, that is TPP or B1. So vitamin B1, it is known as thiamine. Now we know it's a water soluble vitamin, so we can say they are never stored in the liver, they are never stored also in the body. So once their function is over, they are excreted in the form of urine, right? So this thiamine is active in the form of TPP, which stands for thiamine pyrophosphate. Right. And if we talk about the sources, the source of thiamine is in the aleuron layer, or you can say in the polishings of the rice, right? So the richest source is the aleuron layer of the cereals and in the rice polishings. That is why we always say that unpolished rice is the best one to eat. When we heat the rice, when you can say rice undergoes so many other processes, that polishing, that aleuron layer is lost. And sometimes it is advised that parboiled rice is also good to eat. So parboiled rice also good to eat. Right. Now coming over to this, let's see the structure of, first of all, thiamine, pyrophosphate. And now whenever we talk about PP, which it means pyrophosphate, so it is obviously, you can say, energy releasing. Pyrophosphate or inorganic phosphate, two molecules, so it has to be energy releasing. Now coming over to this, sources we have discussed, then we come over to, since it is acting as a coenzyme, what are the biochemical functions of this? Biochemical functions. Now, this thiamine pyrophosphate is required for oxidative decarboxylation. Very, very important. The most important function of this thiamine pyrophosphate is it is required for oxidative decarboxylation, which means that a removal of carbon dioxide in the presence of oxygen. Very important, right? And TPP is the component of 4 main enzymes in the body which are actually catalyzing this oxidative decarboxylation. So TPP is the component of 4 main enzymes. And what are those? The first one is PDH, which stands for pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, which we have already discussed. It is an enzyme of, basically it's an enzyme of link reaction which converts pyruvic acid to acetyl coenzyme A. So basically what happens is, pyruvic acid has 3 carbon atoms, acetyl coenzyme A has 2 carbon atoms. So this one molecule of carbon dioxide is actually taken by this TPP. And later on we can say different other reactions occur, but the main one which is catalyzing the oxidative decarboxylation here is thiamine pyrophosphate. And if we talk about the components, along with B1, it has B2, it has B3, it has B5, and it has lipoic acid. And along with this, it has E1, E2 and E3, which we have already discussed. But the most important point you have to remember here is the removal of carbon dioxide is done by this thiamine pyrophosphate, which is oxidative decarboxylation. And this is a very, very important reaction in a sense that it is linking glycolysis with TCA first of all. And this is the only reaction which is converting glucose to acetyl coenzyme A, which will undergo TCA cycle. Right? Then second important reaction catalyzed by TPP is conversion of alpha-ketoglutarate to succinyl coenzyme A. Again here one molecule of carbon dioxide is given out, and the name of the enzyme is alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase, and both are examples of multi-enzyme complexes, whether we talk about PDH or whether we talk about alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. Right? And this is, we all know that this is an enzyme of TCA cycle. Right? Then third important reaction is, it is a component of you can say branched keto acid. I won't write alpha here, it is like branched keto acid dehydrogenase. We can also call it as BCKT, because branched chain amino acid keto dehydrogenases. And we know that there is a common reaction. If you remember, the mnemonic is live leucine, isoleucine and valine. These three undergo three common reactions, followed by one is transamination, second is dehydrogenation and decarboxylation. And again, if we talk about decarboxylation, this is nothing but oxidative one. You can see that. So again TPP is required, right? So these are the three very, very important reactions which are an example of oxidative decarboxylation. Then fourth one is transketolase. Now this transketolase is a very, very important enzyme of HMP shunt. Right, which plays a very important role in RBCs. Right, so basically in transketolase what actually is happening is, you can say that 5 plus 5 carbon atom, they form 7 and 3, means 5 carbon atom and 5 carbon atom, they combine to form 7 carbon atom and 3 carbon atom. 7 carbon atom is 𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗺𝗺, ketonic sugar, so transketolase, and in HMP shunt there are 2 transketolase reactions. Very important, right? So we can say that this thiamine pyrophosphate is a coenzyme for oxidative decarboxylation of 4 main reactions. And what are those 4 reactions? One is, it is a component of pyruvate dehydrogenase complex which converts pyruvic acid to acetyl coenzyme A, which is linking two very important processes. Second is alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase, which is a very, very important enzyme of TCA cycle. Third is branched ketoacid dehydrogenase, which is catalyzing the degradation of branched chain amino acids, and that is why we say if a person is suffering from maple syrup urine disease which is due to the deficiency of this enzyme, thiamine supplementation is required. And thiamine is a very, very important coenzyme for cellular respiration also. And then it is required for transketolase. Transketolase, which is an enzyme of HMP shunt. And we know that HMP shunt का सबसे important role is, it plays a very, very important role in maintaining the cell membrane of RBCs. So these are the 4 main important functions of vitamin B1 whose active form is TPP. Now we come over to what are the deficiency manifestations, because if a particular enzyme is absent, it will lead to the deficiency of that particular vitamin. So what are the deficiency manifestations of B1? So B1 deficiency leads to beriberi. Now this beriberi can be wet, it can be dry, and it can be infantile beriberi. And second important thing is कि alcoholics, all the alcoholics are more prone for this. Why? Because alcoholics, or you can say alcohol metabolism, or alcohol interrupts or decreases the absorption of thiamine, decreases the absorption of thiamine. This is very important. Okay, so we can say that first is it leads to beriberi. Beriberi further is of 3 types: wet beriberi, dry, infantile, and second is alcohol. Since alcohol decreases the absorption of thiamine, so they will be more prone to deficiency of thiamine. Now what are the manifestations of wet beriberi first of all. Now what happens is, as it is clear from the word itself, wet beriberi, wet, so it leads to edema. So what happens is, it leads to pulmonary edema. Edema is there, right? The most important one, peripheral edema is there. Then you can say, यहाँ पे cardiac failure is there. First of all, cardiomegaly, right? Then it will lead to dyspnea, and it will lead to cardiac failure, right? And the basic difference between wet beriberi and dry beriberi is, there it is going to affect the peripheral nervous system and no edema will be there. Wet hai, so obviously edema will be there. So next comes dry beriberi. Now in dry beriberi, basically peripheral manifestations will be there, or you can say the peripheral nervous system will be affected. Nervous system affected, but no edema will be there, right? Then you can say muscular cramps will be there, and there will be a pain in the lower extremities, pain in the lower extremities or the lower limbs. Then paresthesia will also be there, right? Then motor and sensory neuropathy will be also there. And infantile beriberi is if the mother is also deficient of B1, or if the mother is actually consuming alcohol and all, so automatically it will be transferred to the child. So that is infantile beriberi, right? And then we come over to what role it has to play in alcoholics. This is very important. Now what happens in alcoholics is, if they are B1 deficient, it will lead to Wernicke's encephalopathy. Alcoholics, if they are B1 deficient, it will lead to Wernicke's encephalopathy. And how to remember this? You have to remember the mnemonic GOA, G-O-A. So what happens here is, the person who is very much into alcohol, and if he is B1 deficient, it will lead to global confusion. He will be all the time confused. There will be ophthalmoplegia. Ophthalmoplegia will be there, and ataxia will be there. Right, and there will be horizontal nystagmus. All the time there will be a difficulty, there will be a change in the rotation of the eyeball. Horizontal nystagmus. But isme you can just remember the mnemonic as GOA. Now the question is that if an alcoholic is suffering from Wernicke's encephalopathy, and if it is left untreated, if left untreated, it will lead to Korsakoff psychosis. Leads to Korsakoff psychosis. Right, so this is very important. So we can say that ki alcoholics who are B1 deficient, they are more prone to suffer from Wernicke's encephalopathy, where there is always global confusion. He is all the time confused. Movement, ataxia, 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗺 will be there, and horizontal nystagmus. And if it is left untreated, it will lead to Korsakoff psychosis. And Korsakoff psychosis mein amnesia is there, dementia, loss of memory is there, and confabulations. He will always cook certain stories. Now amnesia can be anterograde, it can be retrograde. Retrograde. And he will be all the time cooking stories as if, sometimes he is going to remember the good memories, sometimes he is going to remember the bad memories. So it varies from person to person. Whatever memory has influenced him, he is going to remember that. Right? So this is vitamin B1. Very, very important. Thiamine pyrophosphate is the active form, and the most important feature to remember is that it is required for the oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvate dehydrogenase, alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase, branched chain ketoacid dehydrogenase, and it is a component of Transketolase enzyme. And deficiency of B1 or thiamine pyrophosphate leads to beriberi. Then after this, if we talk about the RDA, RDA is 1 to 1.5 micrograms in a day. And then we come over to the assay, biochemical investigation of vitamin B1. So now see biochemical investigation of this. The first one is, in fact the most important one is erythrocyte transketolase activity. Erythrocyte transketolase activity. So I can say that if B1 deficiency is there, then this transketolase activity will sure and short decrease. So it's a marker of that. Transketolase activity will decrease. Right? Next is, this is a very important test, I would say, that erythrocyte transketolase activity. Rest we can say. Second one is urinary thiamine excretion. Mean excretion is there. Okay, so this is our vitamin B1, and the most important feature of this is it helps in oxidative decarboxylation. And always remember, most of the students get confused between these terminologies. So there are two terms actually. One is oxidative decarboxylation, and second is simple decarboxylation. What is the basic difference? Here the coenzyme is TPP or B1, and decarboxylation mein the coenzyme is B6 or PLP. Okay, then another important feature here is, just now I told you that this is required. TPP is the most important coenzyme for cellular respiration. Okay, so what happens here is that we know that pyruvate is converted into acetyl coenzyme A, and that is why we say that carbohydrates can always be converted into fats, but fats cannot be converted to carbohydrates. So when pyruvate is converted into acetyl coenzyme A, simple carbon dioxide is given out and PDH is there. And this is strictly a irreversible reaction. Now what happens is that, and I told you that TPP is the main coenzyme for this reaction. So what if this TPP is deficient? If there is deficiency of TPP, there will be increased concentration of pyruvate, right? So I can say acetyl coenzyme A will decrease, and this acetyl coenzyme A is required later for TCA cycle. Up here what will happen is, if the concentration of pyruvic acid increases, it forms lactate. So I can say this is a reversible reaction. So, and the name of the enzyme is LDH. So I can simply say that B1 deficiency leads to lactic acidosis. So this is also one of the features, and whatever we have studied like Beriberi neurological manifestations are there. This is why, because this TCA cycle is the one which is hampered. Okay, so this is all about vitamin B1, whose active form is thiamine pyrophosphate, the most important coenzyme for oxidative decarboxylation. So that's all about B1. And most important which you have to remember here is, because majority of the questions have been asked on Wernicke's encephalopathy and Korsakoff psychosis. Overall, sometimes we call it as Wernicke's Korsakoff syndrome also. So what happens is, Wernicke's encephalopathy mein you have to just remember GOA as a mnemonic. GOA, global confusion, ophthalmoplegia and ataxia. And if it is left untreated, it will lead to Korsakoff psychosis. Psychosis means there will be amnesia, loss of memory, and it will lead to confabulations. And along with this, it leads to beriberi, which can be wet, leading to edema, which can be dry, where there are neurological manifestations, and infantile beriberi if the mother is deficient of B1. And the most important is that how we have to check whether a person is B1 deficient. We always carry out the assay of transketolase enzyme. Transketolase enzyme, which is the most important enzyme of 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗺 shunt. Right? So that's all in this video. Thank you so much.